Okay, welcome everybody to Wednesday night shir, back in action after Pesach, and thank you everyone for coming. It's a little bit of a random topic tonight, halacha topic connected to Pesach, loosely connected, I think, to Pesach, but connected nevertheless. No, it's not about the chometz after Pesach. It's a whole class in and of itself. What happens if you lend a person $100 and they say to you, "I'll pay you after Pesach"? What does that mean? How long do they have to pay you back? Meaning, what is the definition of after Pesach? That is the official question we're going to start with. Although, spoiler alert, that's not really the topic for the shir tonight. I called it "I'll pay you after Pesach," which again sounds like maybe it was misleading and people think it's about mechiras chometz or maybe it's about the chometz overlap of Pesach, which is not what the shir is
About
about.
paying back, a little bit paying back. Because you can say that after anything, I'll pay you back after Shabbos. I mean, how long is after?
Oh, we're gonna get to that. 1 second. I'm glad you said that. We're gonna get to that. So if a person says, "Okay, thank you very much for the loan. I really appreciate it. I'll pay you back after Pesach." The question is, when can you come and be like, "Hey, it's after Pesach. Are you paying me back already?" Right? So let's take a look at the Shulchan Aruch. We don't usually learn the Chesh and Mishpat in this year. But today we will a little bit. Yeah. In Kosov, so Shulchan Aruch and Chesh and Mishpat Siman Mem Gimel says as follows: In Kosov V'Shtar, if you write a document, you want to make sure you're actually guaranteed to get paid back the loan, right? So you write in the shtar in the document Ad Achara Pesach, right? So this document is going to the person who is the lender. The lender is going to hold the document as proof that Ruvain owes him $100. And it says, "I'm lending Reuven $100 and until after Pesach, or he's gonna pay me back after Pesach." What does the definition of Ad Achara Pesach mean? So the Machaber spells it out. The Shulchan Aruch spells it out. Where was he born? Spain. Where did he pass away? Where did he live for a long time? Which is going to be important later, maybe.
Sfas.
Eretz Yisrael, right? It's Sfas. Okay, so the Machaber says Shulchan Aruch in Kol B'Shav Ad Achara Pesach. If you write, "I'll pay you back after Pesach," Hainu, that means Ad Sheyav Roiv Hayom Mishim Pesach Latzeres, until the majority of days have passed between Pesach and Atzeres. What's Atzeres? Shavuos. Even though we also have Shmini Atzeres. And we also have Shvi Shel Pesach, which we just did the Kriya, is also called Atzeres in the Torah. So in Teisha B'Chsav, there are numerous holidays called Atzeres, right? Atzeres means to stop. You stop Malacha, you don't do Malacha. But in Torah Shebal Peh, only, as far as I know, only Shavuos is called Atzeres. Baruch atah Adonai melech hame'ashatim. Then the next sentence, Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph. Until this point is day 21. That is the Siman Shulchan Aruch. So if someone says to you, you look confused. It's okay, you're confused.
No, because Rov Yomim would be 25, not 21.
Why 25?
Because if there's 49 days between, you say after Pesach.
Oh, after Pesach, good, right?
No.
So 1 second. How many days between
how
many days between Pesach and Shavuos?
41.
Between.
Meaning after Pesach.
Right, 41.
Because the sphere starts on day 10.
We're not talking about Sfiras Omer.
Yeah, but that's how you count. That's how you count the days.
No, this is not a halacha in the dinim of Sfiras HaOmer. This is halacha in the dinim of I owe you money.
No, but 8 days of Pesach, right, means 8 days of Pesach means that there would be.
What does it mean? I mean, after Pesach means after the end of Pesach.
Yes, after the end of Pesach.
So that's 41.
Yes.
So that's 41 days.
Simple meaning just be after means as soon as Yom Tov ends.
Yes,
If it's after
41.
Pesach, what
Well,
day
you're already
after Pesach
20.
is 2 weeks later. I mean, after Pesach, simple contract. You got a contract that after
50 days.
whatever day, that means the next day, right after it's over, you have to pay
21
money.
days.
Okay, it's a good question.
That's the
We're going to come to this. Now, what is the basis? Where did the Mechaber get this from? Where does he get this idea of Roiv Hayomim? Where does he get this idea that if you say after Pesach, it means until the majority of days between A and B have passed, in this case, A is Pesach, B is Shavuos, till the majority have passed, then he has to pay you back. Where does he get that from? So let's take a look at source number 2, which is the Gemara Masech Gittin, Daf Ein Zayin Amud Aleph. It's talking about different conditions in a get. The person says, "This is your get if I return after a year." He goes on a journey somewhere. This is your get next month, whatever the details of that are. Then the Gemara says, "Le'achar Shabbos, mai." What happens if a person says after Shabbos? Meaning, I'll if I return after Shabbos, I'll give you a get or something like that. Whatever the detail, I forget exactly the details in the Gemara there. What is the definition of when is after Motzei Shabbos? Like, right, if you make Havdalah, is that after Shabbos? Sunday? When's after Shabbos? So Yosef Reb Zera came to Reb Asi. Reb Zera was in front of Reb Asi. V'omer the Reb Asi came to Reb Yochanan, and others say it was Reb Asi in front of Reb Yochanan. V'komar, and they said as follows: Chad b'Shabbat, the first day, that's Sunday of the week. V'trei, and the second day, that's Monday. V'tlasa, and that's the third day, is called Basar Shabsa. That's called after Shabbos. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is called after Shabbos, which means one second, which means which means that it's in plain English, it's connected. Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays are connected to the previous week, right? Good.
Yeah.
Then it continues the Gemara. Arba, that's also known as Wednesday night shir. Wednesday, the Chamshor is Thursday. Umayle Shabbos and Erev Shabbos, Friday, is called Kame Shabbos, before Shabbos. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, like we're saying the Shir Shal Yom of Wednesday, right? Because it's already Shabbos coming. So Sunday, Monday, Tuesday is shaykh to the previous Shabbos. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is shaykh to the upcoming Shabbos. So we see in the Gemara makes an even split, right? Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, that's 3 days. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that's 3 days. We split it in half, split the week in half, and we say the first half is shaykh to previous. The second half is shaykh to the upcoming. So therefore, if a person says after Shabbos, what does it mean?
Yeah, until Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Right, but meaning after, because Tuesday is still shaykh to the previous, so it means Wednesday. Wednesday is already after Shabbos. So the person says, I'll pay you back after Shabbos. That means Wednesday. Now,
Yeah, until Tuesday when you come down.
yeah.
So
Why?
maybe
Why?
because Tuesday is still attached.
Oh, good. Good. That's right. That's right. Yeah.
So that means if someone says, I'll pay you after Sunday, that means he could also pay him until Tuesday, because
No,
Tuesday is connected to Monday.
No way. No way. If you say Sunday, Sunday. Sunday would mean Sunday.
Sunday is Shabbos, is connected to Shabbos.
No. Sunday is only connected to Shabbos in this context if you're saying Shabbos.
Oh.
But if I say I'll pay on Sunday, that means Sunday. For sure. Okay. Now, so how does the Machaber connect this to Pesach and Shavuos? So let's look in the Lavush, source number 3. The Lavush, we're going to see a lot of connections here, by the way, but a lot of this form that the people, the protagonists are connected. The Lavush we've had before in the Shir was Mordechai Yaffe. He was born in Prague, 1530, around 1530. He passed away in Poland, 1612. He was a Talmud. He was a disciple of the Ramah, Reb Moshe Isserles, who we're going to come to later a little bit about him. The Ramah, Reb Moshe Isserles, right, who wrote the commentary on, not the commentary, wrote on the page of the Shulchan Aruch, the Ashkenazi Pesach. He was also a Talmud of the Marshal, Reb Shlomo Luria. He wrote, the Lavush wrote, I believe, a 10-volume set called the Lavush Malchus. His name was Mordechai. And it's Lavush Malchus. How does the pasuk go? We just read it in Purim, wasn't too long ago, right? Lavush Malchus. I'm blanking now, even though I've learned it so many times.
Is it Chelas Vargam to Loshana?
Yeah. So each of the swarm is named after one of the different garments. That's the Lavush, the garments that Mordechai wore. So what he wanted to do, what the Lavush originally wanted to do before he wrote the Lavush, was he wanted to write a sefer of practical halacha. He wanted people to know what's the din. However, what happened in the meantime while he was working on it? The Shulchan Aruch showed up. Yosef Karo beat him to it. So at first he thought, what's the point? Yosef Karo beat me to it. But then he realized, 1 second, Yosef Karo is a Sfardi. I'm Ashkenazi and I live in Europe. So there's still room for me to write, because you know where this is going, right? There's still room for me to write because I'm Ashkenaz. I'm going to include all the Ashkenazi practices. What happened in the meantime? The Ramah beat him to it. One of his rebbes, and wrote the Ashkenazi practice that goes on the Shulchan Aruch. So he thought, maybe it's not worth it. I still have a chance, he thought. What's the chance? He felt that both the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah were too succinct. That's what he felt. It's just like the straight halacha without any reasons, any flavor to it, so to speak. So what he then ultimately wanted to do by writing the Levush was to go in between, to walk a tightrope in between the succinct nature of the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah versus the Beis Yosef, right? The Beis Yosef is the same person as the Shulchan Aruch, right? As the Mechaber, the Yosef Karo. The Beis Yosef is very, very long, with the Gemaras and the quoting all the shittas of the Rishonim, quote the Rambam and the Rabbeinu Yerucham and the Marshal, quoting all the different shittas. It's very long. So that's too much. That's too much. So he wanted to go right in between, which is what he endeavored to do. And he included the Ashkenazi minhagim and practices and so forth. So let's take a look at the Levush. If you write in the start on Achara Pesach, Pirusha, this means this means until the majority of days between Pesach and Shavuos have passed. What's the connection between Pesach and Shavuos? Well, I think it's fairly obvious. Given the Pesach Pesach and Shavuos are connected one to the other, namely Shesofrin Sefirim Pesach Hatzeres, because we're counting Sefirim, right, between Pesach and Shavuos. Therefore, it's analogous. They're considered as if it's 1 week, just like the Gemara in source number 2, the Gemara Gittin, that takes a week. So what do we do with the week? We divide the week in half. What do we do with the time between Pesach and Shavuos? We divide it in half. That's what he says. It's like 1 week, and just like it's just like in 1 week. The 7 days of a week, Yom Gimel, that is Tuesday, or really it's really already by Wednesday, right? It's called after Shabbos. I'm sorry, I said it wrong. Up till Tuesday is Koydin Achar Shabbos. Up till Tuesday is called after Shabbos. But from that point on, meaning Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, is referred to as before the next Shabbos. So too says the Levush Hachanami b'Pesach Atzeres. How many weeks do you have? 3 weeks and 3 weeks. Gimel was Achara Pesach, Shochan LePesach v'Nechor Achara Pesach. The 3 weeks after Pesach are Shaykh to Pesach, and we can call them after Pesach. Whereas from that point on, Misham ve'elach Nikra Koydem Shavuos.
Why couldn't we take the Gemara and Gittin and legitimately, like literally, look at it as a week of Shabbos and make that connection to Pesach, that you have a week after Pesach to do it, and then after that week, it's no longer considered anything connection to Pesach? Why can't we literally take the Gemara Gittin and view it as a week, as opposed to that the 7 weeks is 1 long week? Like, why can we?
Well, let's think how that would look.
Well, what it
We would start the day after Pesach, and we would say, now you have 7 days.
right, and after the 7 days, it's no longer connected.
Why 7 days? But the Gemara doesn't say 7. The Gemara in the 7 days, the first 3 days are Shaykh to Shabbos.
Because they're connecting it to Shabbos specifically.
Good.
I would say, we're using Gemara Gittin, that you give it a full week, but only that full week would you be connected to the previous Pesach. Anything after that week, it's no longer considered Achar Pesach.
Why-
The fact
why-
that it's a week is
Why? But
a
Gemara,
side point. In other words, it's the point is that it's a Shabbos to Shabbos,
Well,
you have a
did
week
you
in
pick-
between,
Oh,
and the fact that it's a week is just a parenthetical idea, but it's Shabbos to Shabbos, and here it's Pesach to Shavuos, they're connected. Right, you know, Shavuos is supposed to be a specific amount of time after Pesach, they're
It
connected,
just
so
happens to you.
it happens to be, in this case, a week, in this case, it's 7 weeks, but
Right, each week is
but
one week.
it's the same, they're taking the same idea.
and therefore it's the first
Well,
3
yeah.
days.
It's not that it's a week, it's that it's Shabbos to
You
Shabbos.
also have.
meaning the 6
It's
weeks
a-
Is 1 week.
between Pesach and Shavuos.
Right.
Not 7 weeks between.
Would be like the 6
Pesach
day, would be
Shavuos.
like the 6 days of it.
Right.
Right.
So you take those 6 weeks, again, the
That's
first
the
week is
case.
Pesach.
Week is
The
a-
first week is not after Pesach, the first week is Pesach.
Right, between,
Right? It was like what Simeon is saying. But so after Pesach, you have 6 weeks.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
How many days? 6 days in the week. I mean, 7 days, right? Other than the Shabbos. So you have 6 weeks. So divide the 6 weeks in half. It works out perfectly. Therefore, after how many? After how much of the time between Pesach and Shavuos? 3 and 3, right? 3 weeks and just like 3 days and 3 days. 3 weeks and 3 weeks.
So 3 weeks of 1 day would be the rove, right?
Well, why? Yeah. Why is the Shulchan Aruch say Roiv? Let's keep this simple. Half. The mashmos from the Gemara, I think the pashut meaning in the Gemara in Gittin source number 2 is splitting in half and half. 3 days, 3 days. So why don't we say the same thing here? Split it half. After 3 weeks, you're good to go. But the Mechaber says Roiv Hayom. See the difference? He changes from machzis, half, which is what the Gemara seemingly says. 1 second will come. Which changes from half, 3 days and 3 days, or 3 weeks and 3 weeks, to roiv, majority.
Yeah, but a majority by what? It really is half.
No.
It's the next day after the half. So if there are 40
Ad sheya'avru roiv hayom.
Until
the majority of days have passed.
Then that would actually be 2 days ahead.
Right. Why not just say until half of the sphere has passed?
Right.
You have a question or comment?
No, I was gonna say I thought we already answered it by saying that half of the days, it's up until that point, it's still the whatever was before Pesach or Shabbos.
Right, but he didn't
Right.
say he didn't
But
say
here-
half. He said why didn't he just say half the days? You would know the next
2
day.
days.
Okay. You know what you have to do when you have a problem like this? You have to look in the Gra. That's what you have to do. You ready? Source number 4, the Bir HaGra. It's on the page of the Shulchan Aruch there, so I didn't have to look far to find this. The Gra, of course, Lithuania, 1720, passed away 1797. He says as follows. Now, l'chura, the question that the Gra is addressing is the question that we're grappling with right now. The Gemara in source number 2, Masechta Gittin, indicates a machzis, a half, 3 days. 3 days. Once the first 3 days of the week have passed, you're no longer considered after Shabbos. You're considered before the next Shabbos, right? Everyone understands this so far, right?
Yeah.
So the mashmos of the Gemara is a machzis, a half, not roiv like the Shulchan Aruch says in source number 1, roiv. That's what is the issue the girl is grappling with over here. Let's take a look. In Kosov. So Gittin, Ein Zayin, Ein Zayin Aleph. This is the Gemara records source number 2. Joseph Bzeida v'chulu. So he quotes the Sugya. That meaning he's saying indeed Taka. That's what the Mechaber is basing himself on, is the Gemara. And if that's the case, then Buhadin Khan. So the Gemara says, in fact, the same exact thing that the Gemara is indicating, that we're splitting it in half, the same exact thing applies here as well. Mechza, it's also half. Why did the Shulchan Aruch, why did Joseph Karo not write half? Why did he write roiv, majority? Says the Gra, Gewalt Gechab. Not that he needs me to say it was Gewalt. V'loi ka'omar roiv, ela libnei Eretz Yisrael.
You have the issue there.
Where did the Shulchan Aruch live? He lived in Eretz Yisrael. So who's he talking to?
People there.
Eretz Yisrael, the Jews. How long is Pesach in Eretz Yisrael? 7 days. So which means there's 1 more day between Pesach and Shavuos if you live in Israel than if you live outside of Israel. You hear? 1 more day. Because they don't have Yom Tov Sheni of Achash Pesach.
So there is no half.
Good. Oh, you got the math, good. Shalahem, that for them, meaning the Bnei Eretz Yisrael, which is where the Shulchan Aruch was lived and was written, Mem Gimel Yom, 43 days from the conclusion. Again, we're talking after Pesach. From the conclusion of Pesach, Isru Chag, right? Isru Chag in Eretz Yisrael is Yom Tov in Chutz La'aretz, right? They're eating chametz already. We're having Mashiach Suda, right? Shalahem Mem Gimel Yomim. 43 days. And therefore, V'yad Ba'al Ashtar al Tachtoina. Therefore, the Ba'al Ashtar, the person who possesses the shtar, that says, Reuven owes me $100, the Yad Ba'al Ashtar is al Tachtoina. He's losing out in this sense, so to speak, because the guy who owes him money has longer to pay. because there's a longer period of time after Pesach, and therefore half, well, newsflash, as Mikey wants to point out, there is no half if you have 43 days, because 43 is an odd number. So there is no half. So in other words, like this. In Eretz Yisrael, one second, in Chutz La'aretz, how many days between Pesach and Shavuos? 42 days between Pesach and Shavuos. So what's half of that? Easy math, 21 days. So could we say half? Sure, we could say half. In Chutz La'aretz, we could say half. 42 days between Pesach and Shavuos, half of that is 21, the math is easy. However, if you live in Eretz Yisrael, says the Gra, it's 43 days between, and therefore you cannot divide it in half. Therefore, the Machaber says, what does he say in source number 1? Roiv, majority, because there is no half. So therefore it's the majority. How many days is that? 20, because 21 days can't be 21, because 21 times 2 is 42. Therefore, it must be 22 days. 22 is actually after 44 days, but it's only 43 days and a half. Therefore, Yad Baal Hashtar Tachtoina, because the Baal Hashtar, the guy who is the lender, now it's longer before he's going to get paid back his debt.
But based on that,
Makes sense? One day longer.
Yeah, but based on that, then why does it say at the end of the Shulchan Aruch, it says Ad Kan Yom Chaval?
No, that's a good question, and that's what I want to talk about tonight. Everything we said just now is not even what I want to talk about.
Until the 21st day, after the 21st.
It should be until the 22nd
Maybe it
day.
should-
Oh, right. So what does this mean? Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph. Until now it's 21 days. First of all, it should have just said Ad Yom Chaf Aleph.
Right.
And second of all, it's not even Chaf Aleph. It's Chaf Beis. According to what we're saying, that would be 22 days, not 21 days. And what's the word Kan doing over there? You hear? So Pella, what does the Shulchan Aruch mean over here?
F, right, we had comments up until 20.
Up until. Also, by the way, another question which is around the same idea as well. Okay, good. Another question, Bichlal, is let's just pretend for a minute that half is 21. Let's just pretend. Let's pretend that half of 43 is 21. Okay. What, I need the Machaber to do math for me? So however you look at it, these 4 words, Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph, are very unusual words. First of all, they're wrong. That's first of all. Because half of the time between Pesach and Shavuos is not 41 days. That's first of all. Second of all, it should have said Ad Yom Chaf Aleph, not Ad Kan. Ad Kan. Like Ad Kan Chaf Aleph, meaning we're done. What are you not done with anything? You still have till Shavuos. And second of all, I need them to count for me. You hear the questions? Yeah, you want to ask or say something?
Yeah, I'm just curious. Is there any difference if it wasn't on a star, but it was all past?
Yeah. If it's about para, then you got nothing. All you have is a person's word.
No, I mean, is it still the same thing at halfway?
No, because if it's about para, there's no proof of anything. You could say, oh, you $100, you could be like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Could the Ad Kan be going on the guy with the star that for 21 days he can't even mention to the guy that borrowed the money that he owes it?
Okay, it's an interesting svara. It's an interesting svara.
And that's why it's Ad Kan?
Let's take a look. You know where we should look? We should look for someone who has bright eyes. In the Sefer Me'iras Einayim. The Sefer Me'iras Einayim was Rabbi Yoshua Falk, then Rabbi Alexander Katz. Falk, it seems Yoshua Falk. Falk, it seems, based on my small research, was maybe a last name, maybe not a last name. I don't know. In any event, Bashkach Pradas' Yortzeit was the 19th of Nisan. Yortzeit was Pesach. He is known typically as the Smeh. Samach Mem Ayin. Sefer Me'iras Einayim. The Smeh. He was born in 1555 in Poland, passed away 1614. As I mentioned, just Yortzeit was just the 19th of Nisan, 1614, Poland. He's well known for writing, if you open up a tour, on the bottom of the page of the tour, you have small commentaries called the Prisha and the Drisha. He wrote those commentaries on the tour. He also, like the Levush, by the way, was also a Talmid of the Ramah, Moshe Isserles, and the Mashal in Shulman, also a Talmid of theirs. But he's most well known for his sefer called the Smeh, Sefer Me'iras Einayim, which is a commentary on Shulchan Aruch, but only on the Chosh and Mishpat. That's the monetary laws and the laws of loans and all the civil law, basically, not necessarily monetary, civil law. He wrote a commentary. That's what he's most well known for. Now, interestingly, I have this actually got this recently. I got this interesting book from Mizrahi bookstore that I mentioned him numerous times in my Shabbos Blog Drasha, which is a 4-volume encyclopedia L'Toldos Gedolei Yisrael, has biographies of some of the great Rabbonim. And it's very good. So in there he says a few interesting things. First of all, he says that his wife, the wife of the Smeh, was a Givaldik Talmidah Chachama, a huge Torah scholar. Some poskin according to what she said. Others, the Magen argued with her, didn't like her Piskei Dinim, but the Chassam Sefer and then the Yehuda and others paskin in certain ways, like she said. Also, it also mentioned in this book of biography that in addition to what I mentioned, the Prisha and the Drisha, which is printed in the Torah, and the Smeh, which we're going to read from now, is printed in every Shulchan Aruch Chosh and Mishpat. He also wrote many other Sfarim as well. He wrote, let's see, what do I have? Hiddushim on 14 Masechtas of Shas, commentary on the Rif and the Ran, Bi'urim, explanations on works of Kabbalah and of philosophy, a commentary on the Chumash and Rashi, Shuvos, all of which were burned in a fire. Imagine that. Now, also, I want to mention some of his Talmidim. I want to mention because we're going to come back to that and some of the other things. Just I find it interesting to see all the different connections. Who was whose Talmud, and then their Talmud was also. It's just I'm interested in how those things work out. So one of his Talmidim was Rabbi Shua ben Rabbi Yosef from Krakow, also known as the Megina Shloima, who we're going to get to later. Another Talmud of his, he had more obviously many Talmudim, was Yisachar ben Yisrael Eliezer Eilenberg, who wrote a sefer called Be'er Sheva, which is, I believe, a commentary on the 7 Be'er Sheva, the 7 chapters in Shas that have no Tosfos. One of which is in Masechta Soita, which there's a minute to learn Masechta Soita that there is for Soita. Anyway, let's take a look in the Smeh and see what he says. Ad kan yom chafalef. What in the world do these words mean? Ad kan yom chafalef. Until here is day 21. What does that mean? Says the Smeh, Poshatu. It's obvious. This has absolutely nothing to do with what's written beforehand. Absolutely no connection whatsoever to the previous words. Ella, rather than what is it? Newsflash. You know who wrote it? Not Yosef Karo. It's not part of the Shulchan Aruch. You look like you almost fell out of your seat when I said that.
Because it's in the show.
Yeah. Ella, then what is it?
Is it smaller print, like for a reason? Like, is that
In some prints, it's in parentheses.
because of these issues,
Maybe.
or just coincidence?
I don't know. I'm not sure. So what is it doing there? Elo, Shamachaber, the Machaber, that is the Shulchan Aruch, he divided all 4 books of the Shulchan Aruch, right? We have the Orach Chaim on day-to-day life, like Tefillah and Brachos and that kind of thing. Then you have your Deya on like laws of kashrus, like meat and milk and stuff like that. Nida and other things in your day. Then you have Even Ezer, which is marriage laws like Kiddushin, Gerushin, that kind of thing. Then you have what we're learning now, Chosh Mishpat, which is civil law, right? So he divided the whole thing into Lamed Chalokim, 30 parts. What did he want? He wanted you to chazer, to review one of the 30 parts of the entire Shulchan Aruch every day. To review it every day. Now you become fluent in all 4 books of the Shulchan Aruch, as he writes in his introduction to the Shulchan Aruch, which we're going to see in source number 6. So the Yosef Karo wanted you to review the entire Shulchan Aruch every 30 days. That's what it says here. Ad kan yom chafalef. That in the schedule of learning Shulchan Aruch every day, ad kan yom chafalef, this is day 21. In the 30-day cycle. Did you follow that?
That's
This is not part of Shulchan
the
Aruch.
last thing written in the Shulchan Aruch.
No,
If it's not, then how's it?
it's not the last thing. No.
How's it the end of the cycle?
It's the end of day number 21 of the cycle.
Oh, 21. Okay.
That's right.
So it says that throughout the Shulchan Aruch.
With the first Kabin, the Venezia, In an early print from Venice, I saw printing, he says, which I believe, if I did my research correctly, this is the second printing of the Shulchan Aruch he's referring to. That the printers read the introduction where the Yosef Kar writes, I want you guys to review this every 30 days. And they're like, oh, great. Well, he didn't divide it for us. So we, the printers, we will divide it for the Olam.
With the Tefillins.
Yeah, exactly. We'll write Ad Kan Yom Aleph. That way you at home are going to know I'm reviewing Shulchan Aruch every day, obviously, because I want to know halacha, right? So I review Shulchan Aruch every day. And Ad Kan Yom Aleph, today is the first day of the month. Rosh Chodesh is coming up. The second day, it'll be Ad Kan Yom Beis. Good. Then you keep going Ad Kan Yom Gimel until you get here. Happens to be this halacha happens to be Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph. This would be day 21 in the cycle. This is the conclusion of the 21st portion. So this one second. Why then, if I look through the rest of my Shulchan Aruch, I won't find these markings. I only find this internal division, which is not part of the Shulchan Aruch. It's for your convenience. It's only here. Meaning the second printing of Shulchan Aruch that I mentioned has it everywhere. Yom Aleph, Yom Beis, Yom Gimel has the whole 30 days. The whole Shulchan Aruch is divided. But then at some point in time, other printers, whoever they were, decided that we're taking that out. Why do they decide to take it out? I don't know. Maybe they figured that
I'm not going to do it anymore.
maybe it's too hard.
Portion, I mean,
Maybe it's too hard. No more portion, by the way. No more portion. Just the basic Shulchan Aruch. I think with the Ber Hativ, brought on something with the Ber Hativ, maybe. But they suffer whatever. Maybe it's too hard. Maybe people weren't doing it anyway, or maybe they just thought, listen, do it yourself. Well, I have to divide it for you. You divide it. I don't know how busy you're. Maybe your Mondays are crazy, so maybe you need a lighter load on Mondays. That's reasonable, right? Maybe you divide it for yourself. For whatever reason, they decided to remove the daily divisions, but they left this one in. Yeah.
Maybe they purposely left this one as a mnemonic since it just coincidentally landed by
Okay, good. 1 second. Hold that thought. I like that. Hold that thought. Very nice. Says the Smeh on the fourth last line. Then why in the other Sfarim should be Yodeinu? Meaning the Shulchan Aruch that you have today. I mean, this is the times of the Smeh, right? Lived in the 1500s, right? Even already then, certainly today, you go by a Shulchan Aruch, it doesn't say the conclusion of other daily parts of the study, right? Only here. But this one, Ad Kan Yom Chaf is printed. Why did they leave it in? So if they took it out, take it out. If you're going to leave it in, leave it in. Why take all of them out but leave this one? The intention of the one who printed it must have been he obviously thought maybe he wasn't such a lam, then maybe he wasn't such a scholar, maybe, and he thought, oh, you're talking about days and half and the Pesach and Shavuos. It fits. That's what he thought. That it was that he must have thought it's a continuation of what we're anyway discussing. Meaning that he thought, the printer,
Part of the Shulchan Aruch.
the Shulchan Aruch is telling you, right? The majority of days, again, remember the Shulchan Aruch says Roiv, right? Majority of days between Pesach and Shavuos, Hainu Soif Chof Aleph Yom, is at the end of 21 days, meaning 22 days, right? Well, however, if you go according to that, says this man, Tevas Kan Ta'osoifim. The word kan is actually a typo. It doesn't belong there. It should just say ad yom chaf aleph. V'tzorich loimer ad yom chaf aleph. V'shibush hu be'enai. This is a little bit mixed up. Dim kain. However, the whole thing is a little bit mixed up. Dim kain minyan alamali. Why does the author of the Shulchan Aruch, Yosef Karo, need to count for me? So even if we accept this message, even if we accept what I said, that the printer must have thought that this is actually a direct flow and continuation, because the Roiv Hayomim is not 21 days, but until the completion of 21 days, which is also known as 22 days. And is that the majority in Eretz Yisrael?
Yeah.
Yes.
43
43 days. between Pesach and Shavuos
22 is-
in Eretz
Why don't
Yisrael.
they just wait 12 hours and then afterwards?
What's 12 hours? What do
He's
you
Half
saying
day.
21
Exactly
and 12
half.
hours.
Exactly.
And then after that, 22 would be like more than that.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. But Smed doesn't like it. Why does he not like it? Because what are you counting for me? You need to tell me 21 days.
Well, yeah, but why couldn't it be where the chaver is not counting for us, but the guys that are printing may not be
So that's what
Bucky,
he's saying,
they might
yeah.
not be Bucky, they're just the printers, you know, and they don't know.
Yeah, so that's what he's saying. The madpis, the printer, maybe he wasn't the biggest Talmud Chacham. Okay. Let's turn the page. We mentioned in the Smed the introduction of the Shulchan Aruch, so let's read a little bit of that because it's not interesting. Source number 60, introduction. You just open up your Shulchan Aruch, it's printed there. At the end of the line, end of the first line. Re'isi ani belibi. I saw in my heart means I saw fit. I saw fit. I should collect what I wrote in Beis Yosef, basically all the halachos with all the rishitas and the rishonim and all the different opinions and the gemaras. But I decided I should write a bederach ktsara. Should be succinct, the lashon tzach with a clear language. Everything should be able to be understood clearly by people. Shagur, but if you call Ish Yisrael, should be able to be recited fluently, understood by every Jewish person. When you ask a Talmud Chacham a halacha, that's what I just did what ligamgim means. You shouldn't stutter on it. You shouldn't stumble on the words. He should be able to say, it's a phrase, he should say to wisdom, you are my sister, meaning, just like it's clear to the Rav that his sister is forbidden to marry, so too, that so too, every halacha that you ask the Rav, he should be able to answer right away, because it should be fluent in it. It should be clear to him. It should be shogar b'fiv. Shogar b'fiv sefer zeh. This entire sefer Shulchan Aruch should be clear to him. Abonu l'talpio yistel shakol poini boy l'chalke l'chalokim shloishim l'umoid boy b'chol yoyim. That therefore everyone should be dividing it into 30 portions. The Shulchan Aruch himself says this. The Mechaber says this. Should divide into 30 portions. L'umoid boy b'chol yoyim chelik. Learn every day a piece. Every 30 days, every month, you're reviewing how much? The entire Shulchan Aruch. Here, who's he talking to? So Talmud Chacham. Talking to a Talmud Chacham. He's suggesting. V'yomer love, Ashrei mishabal l'kam l'Talmud b'yudem and b'yodem. We're saying Givaldik. You chazed the Shulchan Aruch every month, unbelievable thing. Now you might think it's just for Talmidei Chachamim. However, the Shulchan Aruch in his introduction continues. No, it's not just for scholars. Zois v'oid. Even regular people like us, the little guys. We should also pashit learn Shulchan Aruch all the time. We should memorize it. But it should be clear mikatnusam. From already when we're young children, it should be clear to us what are the halachis. Halacha l'maaseh. Taka, what do you do? What's the halacha l'maaseh? That way, v'gam ki yazkinu, even when you're old, you're going to know. You remember from when you were a kid. You remember all the halachas you learned because you're also so. The Shulchan Aruch, Yosef Karo is saying even a non-Talmid Chacham, a regular person, should also review every 30 days. It's going to be brilliant and shining like the sky. Okay, you get the point. So that's the Shulchan, and that's where the Smeh in source number 5 was going on. To review, and that's what this is. Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph is merely a notation of the daily study. Why is it there and the other ones are not there? The Smeh suggested because the printer put it in, and he thought it matched. He thought it flowed. It wasn't really right, but he thought it flowed.
Basically, the printer made the error that spawned the question to begin with.
Yeah.
Like he didn't have that question.
And the Smeh says he thought that it fit.
Right. He thought it fixed. He didn't have that question. He didn't have the question that we're asking. He didn't do all the. So he didn't learn the Gra. He didn't think about it or just
Right.
whatever. He just whatever. Makes sense that it's here. He didn't think, and
We're
therefore,
talking about numbers, and he says Roiv, Shulchan Aruch says Roiv, and there's 43 days between Pesach and Shavuos. And the Roiv of that is Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph.
it's a little weird though,
Yeah,
because
it's a little bit weird, exactly.
he removed all the other ones.
Right.
So then he got to this one, and then he got confused. Like,
And also, as the Smek concludes, Minyan Alamali, why are you counting for me?
right, maybe it's the printers.
Okay. And by the way, this idea of Rabbi Yosef Karo in source number 6 in his introduction to go every 30 days is not such a chiddush. In fact, look at source number 7 in Gemara Brochis. Reb Chia bar Abba, Daik v'gomer shmaitzim Reb Yochanan Rabbi. He learned from Reb Yochanan his teacher. Reb Binyamin bar Yafes loy Daik. Oh, what I really want to say is the third line. Reb Chia bar Abba, Kol Tolosin Yomin Mahader Talmudo. Kamed Reb Yochanan Rabbi. Every 30 days, Mahader Mahader, right? The Daled turns into Zayin in Aramaic, right? Chazer. He would chazer his Talmud, his learning, in front of his Rebbe, Rabbi Yochanan, every 30 days. Chazer is learning every 30 days in front of his teacher. Now, Taisus, by the way, in the right column over here, which conveniently worked out in the same picture, it's in the same exact, is it longitude or latitude? Latitude. Same exact latitude as the Gemara itself. Taisus has a certain understanding of this. Kol Tlos and Yemin Mahada Talmuda says Taisus, Lab Dafka Kol Talmuda. Doesn't mean you chazer everything you learned. Ella kol ma shehayu learned b'shloshim yom. Everything he learned the previous 30 days, hayu choyzer kol lefanav b'yom shloshim ve'echad. He would chazer everything on the 31st day of the month, meaning I guess the first day of the next month.
Everything in one day, the whole month.
It sounds like. It sounds like.
It's a good program.
It's a good program. Now, source number 8, we're running out of time here. Source number 8 is the Shach. The Shach, this Shach, by the way, is going on the Shulchan Aruch from source number 1 on the Choshen Mishpat. The Shach was a Shabsai Kohen, born in Vilna in 1622, passed away at the young age of 41 in 1663. Nowadays, there's no such thing, I guess you could say, as learning in the Shulchan Aruch without the Shach and the Taz. Who was the Shach? At age 12, he was already Baki in Shas and Rishonim and so forth. So his father sent him to a bigger yeshiva. Learn with big. Who did they send him to? The yeshiva of the Megina Shleima, the Yeshua ben Rabbi Yosef. Who was the Megina Shleima? We mentioned it before. He was a student of the Smeh. Source number 5. The Megina Shleima was a disciple of the Smeh. So the Shach is now learning by the Megina Shleima, who he was a disciple of the Smeh. And later in 1639, the Shach went to Krakow, where he learned under the Goyim, the Rebbe of Heschel, who I spoke about on one of the nights of Pesach. I spoke about his Pshat in the Gemara, why Talmud Chacham should have an eighth of arrogance, if you hear one of the nights. And he's a fascinating sefer, Chanukah Satira, very unique ideas. So that was in the Krakow, 1639. He learned by the Rebbe of Heschel and others before returning to Vilna. He published his commentary, the Shach, which is a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, at the age of 24. I don't know what I was doing when I was 24, but it wasn't that. And Bashkacha Pratis, in that same year that he published his commentary on the Shulchan Aruch, he was already known as a big guy. In the same year, the Taz, who was something like 3 times his age or something, who was renowned, well-known, the Taz, Reb David Alevi, also published at the same time. And despite being something like a third his age, the Shach was not shy and they duked it out. Anyway, let's take a look at the Shach.
What did the other person publish?
He published a commentary called the Taz, which stands for Turei Zov, which is also a commentary on the Shulchan Aruch. Yeah. By the way, generally speaking, the general principle in halacha, when you have an argument between the Shach and the Taz, in general, we pass on like the Shach. In general. Even though he was 24,
He was younger.
the Taz was like 70 or something like this. It was
Why is that? Why
I don't know why. It was makubal by poskim. I think to go by the Shach in most cases. I don't really know why. I'm not sure. Anyway, let's take a look at the Shach. Damasha Kosovo Mechaber Ad Kan Chof Aleph Yoim. Rabbi Yosef Karo, back to our topic now, writes Ad Kan 21 days. He does not mean to say the majority of days between Pesach and Shavuos, Dainu Chof Aleph Yoim, which would be 21 days, because the Imkain Minyan Olam Ali. This is all quoting the Smeh, right?
Mhm.
That was his teacher's teacher. He's quoting his teacher's teacher. Minyan Olam Ali. What do you need to count for me? I can do the math on my own. Ella hu rishima. It's a notation. It's a what's a better word in English?
Or you said.
Mnemonic?
It's
Mnemonic.
not really a mnemonic. Mnemonic is a way to remember something. No.
Oh, yeah, like the Gemara has like ratio.
Yeah. It what?
Parentheses.
It's not parentheses. It's a rishima. Means it's just a notation telling you where to stop learning for your daily review. That's all. It's a notation. It's Rishima Lachs or Shulchan Aruch.
Yeah, but then the question goes back, why is it the only Rishima?
1 second. Ad kan b'chaf aleph yom. V'loy dok. However, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. Why? The misoif Pesach, because from the end of Pesach, l'tchilas atzeres to the beginning of Shavuos, who livnei Eretz Yisrael mem gimel yom. If you live in Eretz Yisrael, like the Gra road, right? Gra comes after him, by the way. It's for Bnei Eretz Yisrael 43 days. Because they don't have the Yom Tov Sheni of Achan Shal Pesach. Well, Didon, but for us means he was in Europe, and that's all of us, right? B'nei Chutzlaretz, L'Didon Mem Beis Yom, 42 days. Ninta the Chaval of Yom L'Kulei Amalei Kerubo, which means that no matter which where you live, if you live in Eretz Yisrael, and even if you live in Chutzlaretz, 21 days is not the majority in either place. You follow? Because in there, it's Israel, there's 43 days. Is 21 the majority of 43?
Yeah.
Clearly not. 22 would be. And if you live in Chutz La'aretz, it's half exactly, not the majority. The Shach says. According to the whole world, meaning Side Eretz Yisrael and Side Chutz La'aretz, you don't have the majority, and the Mechaber wrote majority. And if you live in Eretz Yisrael, it's not even half. At least outside of Eretz Yisrael, you have half. That's the shach. So why is it there? I don't know if we have much other than the Smeh. The Smeh says it was there because the printer put it there. Because he thought it made sense. Source number 9. And with this, we're going to begin to wrap up. You ready? Source number 9 is the Siddur Amudei Shamayim by Rabbi Yaakov Engel, who lived in Germany, born in 1697, passed away 1776. Wasn't that the year America was? Yeah. His father was the Chacham Tzvi, and Yaakov Emden wrote many svarim. Is well known for, amongst other things, for being involved in a fight against someone, namely Rabbi Yohanan Eibeshitz, who he thought was a closet or not so closet Shabtai Tzvinik. And he fought tooth and nail against him to prove that he was a closet messianist, the false messiah, all these things. Anyway, he wrote many svarim. Look what he writes over here. Givaldik. This is in the section, his siddur is a lot of Kabbalah, halacha, Kabbalah, kavanos, and like very deep stuff. So he writes at the end of the first line, Dover nifla kara b'tura rachaim b'simanov. A wondrous thing happened in the Shulchan Aruch, in the Simanim, right? You know, every section of Shulchan Aruch is given a Hebrew letter to it, right? The first section of Shulchan Aruch is Aleph, the second is Beis. So eventually you have to start using bigger numbers, right? Why are those numbers there? It's just to tell you where to look. So you know, I can tell you look in Siman, whatever, and you'll know where to look. She says a Dover Nifla, wondrous thing happened in the Shulchan Aruch. Shenizdamnu dinei shofar b'simen hashove im gematria shalom. Givaldik. The halachas of shofar, the siman, the letters that indicate which section of Shulchan Aruch that is, are equivalent to the gematria shofar. How could it be? So he says, even though the author did not do that intentionally, He didn't intentionally make it the gematria of when he happened to get up to Hilchos Shofar, the gematria of that section will be numerically equivalent to the Shofar. Nevertheless, we call Mokim Nofal HaEmes Be'emes. What a great line. The Emes falls on the Emes. Laharos, to show us, to indicate Kimila Shamayim Miskim Al Yodai, that from heaven they agree with the book that he's written. Lafisha also Chibur L'Shem Shamayim, because he wrote his book L'Shem Shamayim for the sake of heaven. V'chol Oiskim B'Melech Shamayim L'Shma, and anyone who's involved in things for the sake of heaven, for the right purpose, Marin Lahem Simin Toiv, I believe that stands for. They are shown a Simin Toiv, a good sign, Mashallah Allah Daitum, something they never even thought of, they never even dreamed of. So even though the author who organized it did not intentionally make it that the Gematria should equal, but it does equal Shofar. Why? It's a Siman Tov min Hashamayim, that what you're doing is good. So maybe we could say the same thing here, right? That even though, where did Beis Yosef live? He lived in Eretz Yisrael. So for Ad Kan, Yom Chaf Aleph doesn't make sense. Because Yom Chaf Aleph, 21 days is not half of 43, which is the time between Pesach and Shavuos. It's not Roiv, and it's not even half. However, where was the Shulchan Aruch printed? Huh?
43.
Right. I didn't cop that. Yeah. Where was the Shulchan Aruch printed?
Not in Israel.
Not in Israel. It's printed outside of Eretz Israel. Yeah. It's printed in Venice or in Italy somewhere. So very likely that the guy, the printer, whoever he was a B'nai Chutz La'aretz. So for him, 21 days is taka half.
Right, it's still not wrong.
Not right, but it's half.
So he edited.
It's the bigger half.
So maybe that's why he left it in.
It's like you break the apricot,
Maybe that's why he left it
the
in.
bigger half.
Maybe that's why I left it in, because of 21 days, he says, oh, maybe he didn't avoid this. The Gemara says half, okay. So maybe he thought, okay, 21. That's exactly what it's talking about here. Half the time, or the majority, you could even say that the Roiv is after the 21 days. Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph until here is 21 days. After that's the majority. Maybe that's what he thought. So maybe Min HaShamayim, this is Takamet, and it's in the Shulchan Aruch. If you buy Shulchan Aruch today, it will say this. This is not just the old prints, it's also the current Shulchan Aruch. Say Ad Kan Yom Chaf Aleph. It was left in. It reminds us of this whole story that we're just learning about now for the last hour. But maybe that's why the printer was outside of Eretz Yisrael. And he thought, 21 days is half of 42. And after that is the majority. Now, just to conclude with a Maisa that I read, that apparently, I think it was one of the Moshe Feinstein's son-in-laws, I think. I don't know if it was by the Levaya or at some point, was giving up some kind of hesped, a eulogy of some sort for Moshe Feinstein. I don't know if it was actually a eulogy or whatever, but he was. And he said that one day his father-in-law, I think it was his son-in-law, father-in-law said, Moshe says to him, today I made my 800th Simon Shulchan Aruch. How does it work? If Reb Moshe was chazering every 30 days, first of all, how long would it take you to chazer Shulchan Aruch if you did it over 30 days? How long would it take you every day? Obviously, the answer is that depends. When you first would start doing it, it's going to take you a long time. Probably hours and hours and hours a day. But as you do it one year, then you do it again, eventually it's going to go quickly, right? So if he was chazering every day a portion of the Shulchan Aruch, such that he was completing it every 30 days, like the author of the Shulchan Aruch himself advises, if he was doing that, that means that every year he would complete it 12 times, right? If he started so that means, right, once every month, 12 times every year, okay? Okay. If he started doing this, I'm speculating, if he started this chazara of every 30 days Shulchan Aruch at the age of 14, which presumably if someone like Rabbi should,
Almost till 80.
Till 80, right? Then that's from the age of 14 to 80 is 66 years. And each year you're reviewing 12 times. 66 times 12 is 7,920. It's almost.
Since the number.
Yes, sorry. Did the math wrong. So it's almost 800 times. Maybe add in the leap years
The leap years.
and add in maybe.
Yeah.
So. Okay, that's all I have. It was just a kind of a. It's based on an essay in a Haggadah that I bought that had an article called Mahu Achar HaPesach. What is considered after Pesach? It's a fascinating Haggadah that I bought called the Hayu Devarim Ma'olam. It's just like all sorts of crazy stories. It's like over 700 pages long. And he has this series of books called the Hayu Devarim Ma'olam, which is about every like random thing you could possibly think of. He has essays about that, including today's shir, which was not my own discovery, which was based on an essay from that book. And that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for coming.
I heard someone said that the Mechaber was called the Mechaber, because it's a weird name, like the Mechaber,
Right.
because he was he connected all of Yiddishkeit, all of Jews, all Klal Yisrael. Because everyone holds the Shulchan Aruch, and not everyone holds the Rambam. Everyone holds the Shulchan Aruch. So, like from the word chibur, like he connected,
Bring them together.
He's the Mechaber. He's like he's Mechaber.
And it's true. The truth is that Judaism, modern day Judaism, is entirely based on Shulchan Aruch.
Shulchan Aruch, right?
Shulchan Aruch. Even if you're Ashkenazi, okay, but there are most going on the Shulchan Aruch.
Right.
You can't live a life
Right.
as a frum yid without the Shulchan Aruch. That's the Mechaber.
Right.
It's just joining everybody together.
Everyone still to this day, everyone, no matter what you are, what.
Yeah. So we didn't have any Chassidus today. The closest to the Chassidus was source number 9, the Siddur of Rabbi Yaakov Emden. That was the closest to Chassidus.
Doesn't it look like this is the base? This has a notation as if it would be
No, but see these notations.
were put in by.
These are referencing you either to the Shach or to the Smeh or to the other commentaries on the page.
Okay.
Yeah. And that just depends on
This
which
reference
print.
is to where? I guess it's not going on before. It's going on.
You have to pull out a Shulchan Aruch and see what it was
I
exactly.
wonder what this. It's going on. Look, would be going on here because there's nothing else afterward.
There's nothing. Yeah, the next image is after. Yeah. Okay, Ad Khan Yom Chava. I mean Ad Khan next year.
You have 6 people. I mean.